today, Donald Trump came out and he gave a
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, how are my peeps doing? I trust everybody's okay. Let me bring up the chat. I'm a little bit behind. You know what happened? I got the piece ready today, the video of the president's speech, or where I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I forgot I made a promise, and I made a promise to Bridge MCP that I would have Warren's video. And you know what? I have it, but I had to process it so it would play through the system. And I just got through doing that. Anyway, folks, welcome to Politics and Right. Welcome aboard Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. Welcome aboard Lee Grant from Montgomery County. May Wood from Long Beach, California. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. Ali Sarin Dreams from the Kingwood area, Northern Lake Houston Boulevard. Call Wood. Come on, help me out, Alice Orange Dreams. I have, for all the other people, I've been doing it for such a long time, it's almost muscle memory. But I know where you are. I know where you are. But remind me, because I want to picture it and Summerwood. Why can't I remember Summerwood? What's wrong with me? I used to ride the bike to Summerwood. ¿Qué lo que me pasa? Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Michael Rudden says, Egberto, daily reminder. Let me tell you a little secret. Michael Rudden, folks, is from Brooklyn, New York. And let me tell you a secret, Michael. I got it automated. I set up, I had to go ahead and, I use this product called Zapier. I use Zapier to automate a lot of my online stuff to make sure we can get things going. And I finally set up a Zap for it, and it better be working. And let me see if it's set it up yet. It should be queuing it in a minute. I am pretty sure that I did it correctly. I have some keywords in there that I need to use. Let me make sure those keywords are in there just to be sure. Just to be sure. Let me make sure that keyword is in there that causes it to occur. Yeah, it should queue in a few minutes, in a minute or two. It should automatically queue into uh why isn't it there yet? Why isn't it there yet? If it doesn't queue in the next 2 minutes, I'll go ahead and put it in, my dear brother. Anyway, folks, let's continue with the chat. What else have we got here? What else have we got here in the house? Summerwood, LOL. Yes, Alice Aaron, I got it. I got it. Summerwood. I promise. Hey, so he blames Obama, Biden, DEI, which JD is not himself. Egberto Willies for the screen. And if Bridge wants, hey, Bridge, you slowed down the show today, Bridge. I forgot to do the video and had to run and process the video for you, but I got it done. I got it done. Your wish is my command, folks. Okay. Last week, Trump fired hundreds of FAA senior officials, including the entire Aviation Security Advisory Committee, the head of the TSA, and froze the hiring of new air traffic controllers. Now, an American Airlines plane collides with a Black Hawk helicopter outside of DC, killing 65 people. But before any investigation can be done, perhaps because there's no one left to investigate, he takes to Twitter to blame the helicopter pilot and the air traffic controllers. But it's deeper than just blaming the air traffic controllers, folks. He actually said it is DEI. He said it is DEI. Now the guy screwed up and wants to remake government. You see these guys are always talking about remaking government. One of the things that they rarely realize is how complex government is. Government isn't this stuff that you can just go ahead and say, I make it overnight. Bureaucracy, there is a bureaucracy because bureaucracy is what's needed to get things done. And eventually, as you build the bureaucracy, as you have the excesses, you start to train yourself how to cut the areas that are not needed. But generally, you come with as much as you can, and then you start pairing off those things that you think you don't need, or those things that are proven you don't need. And then you can use attrition to go ahead and do it, but you err on the side of safety. You err on the side of humanity. You err on the side of not hurting people. And sometimes not hurting people mean working less efficient than you can. That is why government is not a business, right? People always say, I want to run government like a business. Hell, you don't. You don't want to run government like a business. You get people killed. Welcome aboard. Who else is here? Para ver, Adolf Twitler. What? If Biden had fired hundreds of FAA employees because they were white MAGA, just days before a mass casualty collision at America's capital airport, what would Republicans be saying at this moment? Adolf Twitler, I want to give you the. Everybody say thank you, Adolf Twitler, because I want to expand on what brother Adolf Twitler, and I'm assuming you're a brother or a male or not a sister. You're not a female. Adolf doesn't sound a female name, but then again, who knows? He, she, him, shim, what? I don't know. But anyway, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Adolf, I want to commend you, and let me tell you why I want to commend you. Right now, every single Democrat should have done what Breach MCP just did. They should be on the news media right now talking about how many FAA senior officials Trump fired. And even though we cannot prove that that did anything with the airlines, what we can say is that Trump coming in and really doing that number on the FAA dealt a blow to morale. And in dealing a blow to morale, you mess with people's minds and you become less assertive, less attentive, less all these things. So indirectly, whether because of lack of personnel or because of mental stress created by a failed president, he's responsible. You would have Republicans and MAGA all over the news pointing what you just point out, that the FAA just lost a lot of people. And why do you think Trump came out today to speak about DEI is what's occurring at FAA? He's looking for a scapegoat. He needs a scapegoat because he realized what he's done. All right, it looks like J Ray is in the house and I passed him up. I didn't see you, J Ray. There it is. Salutation posse from J Ray J Ray 713. How you doing, my brother J Ray? Hey, J Ray is a great guy. J Ray came out twice, and was it twice or just one? J Ray came out to our Houston Peace and Justice Center award ceremony a few months ago. It was great meeting J Ray in person. Great guy. Uh, no, I know. The second time, I think he stood us up. He didn't come to our mixer. That's what it is. He stood us up for the mixer. All right, what else we got here? Para ver, para ver, para ver. Para ver. We also have Joe is in the house from LA. She says, I like the program Brooklyn Dad too. Well, I talked to. I don't think uh, brother Rudnan is a dad though. I don't think he's a dad. Are you a dad, Rudnan? I don't think so. Agolf Twitler says, last week Trump fires the head of the FAA and over 430 FAA employees. And a week later, this happens. You know what? All of you need to write something on your blog or on your feed that says that. And I'm going to put what Bridge MCP. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I already did a blog on this subject. It was a blog that was on his speech, but I'm going to write another blog in the name of the PDR posse. And I'm going to, so anybody who can give me memes like what Bridge did, commentary like what Agolf Twitler did, I'm going to compile it all into a blog and post it and call it, if the PDR posse can respond, why can't the Democratic Party do so as effectively? Or I tell you what, why don't you guys give me a name for the blog? I just gave the first crack at it. Give me a name for the blog. I'll put it out there and I'll put, I'll name you guys out there. So go ahead, folks, and let me know what's best to do. That's what we're gonna do. Let's write a blog together, guys. Give me stuff to put in that blog. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Stick it in there, and then later on tonight, I'll go through the whole list and get it done. All right. Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas is in the house. Gene Daigle is in the house. Gene, I'm just like how I forget Summerwood for Alice Allen Dreams. I forget where Gene Daigle is from. Are you from Houston, I believe? Let me know. Melanie Keelan is from Barcelona, Spain. Hi, Melanie. Agolf Twitler says MAGA never missed an opportunity to blame black people, women, and LGBT folk. You're absolutely right about that. And Bridge MCP says, Egberto Willis, I sent you the clip of Warren. Hope that is the one you show. I didn't see the clip that you sent. I went and found it myself on my feed. You know, I tape everything from the different networks. But you sent me to do some work, Bridge. I didn't realize you sent it to me, but I got it done. All right, who else we got here? Gene Daigle says, plus the ATC San Carlos is going to be closed down and have zero ATCs as of February because of President Donald Trump. Archive. You know what, though? The archive system works great. Whenever you are quoting anything from that, maybe from a right wing site or the government site, what I suggest people do right now is to use the archive version because Donald Trump and his minions are trying to erase history. So a lot of pages at the government websites, from what I understand, are starting to disappear. Okay? All right, what else have we got here? What else have we got here? I'm scrolling down. I'm scrolling down. Bridge MCP said, Egberto, he fired the TSA guy because Musk told him to. Why? Because that Biden appointee went against SpaceX for safety violation. Do you see what the oligarchy looks like, folks? Tom C says, DEI stands for deranged, egomaniac, and incompetent. Deranged, egomaniac, and incompetent. I like that. That Trump and all his cronies are the most DEI of anyone in government. I concur. Alisarian Dream says the FAA is unionized and I am union. Trust me, it would demoralize us if our leader were removed. There you go. There you go. Michael Rudden says one word, childless. In other words, Michael Rudden is saying worry free. Right, Michael? I think that's what you mean, right? All right, J Ray says, yeah, I did show up, but I was overbooked the second time. Don't do me like that, brother. Jay, I have to do you like that. You're my brother. You're no, not my brother. You're my little brother. I have to, you know what big brothers do to little brothers. Come on now. All right, let's see what else we got. Steigen Bergen Creek says, this is just the start of people dying under Trump regime. You get it, girl. Or sorry. My mistake. You get it. You get it, Steigen. You get it. All right. Let's see what else we've got here. Michael says, do you think Trump messing with the airline safety had any impact on the crash? AP. From January 21st, Trump fired heads of TSA, Coast Guard, and GUTS Key Aviation Safety Advisory Committee. Members of the Aviation Security Advisory Committee received a memo Tuesday saying that the department is eliminating the membership of all advisory committees and as part of a commitment to eliminate the misuse of resources and ensuring the DHS activities prioritize our national security, The Aviation Security Committee, which was mandated by Congress after the 1988 Pan Am 103 bombing over Lockerbie, Scotland, will technically continue to exist, but it won't have any members to carry out the work of examining safety issues of airlines and airports. And you know what that's all about? Regulation. Regulation. Anytime you see they try to eliminate things, it's about eliminating regulations. Don't forget that, folks. Don't forget that. All right. We got here now. Para ver, para ver. I'm going down. Let's see, Gene. In a highly technical field with high stress in air traffic control, it doesn't matter what skin color a person is if they can do the job. That's what it is supposed to be, but that's not what Trump is trying to promote. Trump is trying to promote DEI as being a problem. DEI is not the problem. The biggest recipient of DEI are people like Trump. Don't let me go into details now. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. What else we've got here? Gene Gene Daigle has a different thing for DEI. He calls it DEI stands for Don, Eric, and Ivanka. Huh, that's a new one. I hadn't heard that one before. All right, Michael says, I have my share of worries, but few for myself. You know, that's a sentiment. That's the wordiology of a decent person. All right, Jerry said, fair enough, big brother. I'll take that. Yeah, come on, man. Of course. All right, let's see what else we got. Paul Furman says, during a press conference addressing the plane collision. All right, I'm not going to read that one any further because I have it for you. And that's going to be the first video of the day. So why don't you say, let's get busy. Today, Donald Trump came out and he gave a press conference on the crash that occurred in Washington, D.C. And I have not seen a more despicable press conference in which he's using the tragedy of this crash, to actually promote his racist, homophobic, completely xenophobic, sexist DEI attack that has no merit in this case. It is simply amazing. Before I get into it, listen to this interview, and then we'll take it on the other side.
We do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably state those opinions now, because over the years I've watched as things like this happen, and they say, well, we're always investigating, and then the investigation 3 years later, they announce it. We think we have some pretty good ideas, but we'll find out how this disaster occurred, and we'll ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. The FAA and the NTSB and the U.S. military will be carrying out a systematic and comprehensive investigation. Our new Secretary of Transportation. We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. You remember that. Only the highest aptitude, have to be the highest intellect, and psychologically superior people were allowed to qualify for air traffic controllers. That was not so prior to getting there. When I arrived in 2016, I made that change very early on because I always felt this was a job that, and other jobs too, but this was a job that had to be superior intelligence, and we didn't really have that, and we had it. And then when I left office and Biden took over, he changed them back to lower than ever before. I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. And they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen, because this was the lowest level. Their policy was horrible, and their politics was even worse. So as you know, last week, long before the crash, I signed an executive order restoring our highest standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. So it was very interesting. About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful, on restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. And my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters. Intellect, talent, the word talent. You have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. You can't have regular people doing that job. They won't be able to do it. But we'll restore faith in American air travel. I'll have more to say about that. I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them. They can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. Then another article, the Federal Aviation Administration, this was before I got to office, recently, second term. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine? That are targeted disabilities are those disabilities that the federal government, as a matter of policy, has identified for special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's his government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity. A group within the FAA, another story, determined that the workforce was too white, that they had concerted efforts to get the administration to change that and to change it immediately. This was in the Obama administration just prior to my getting there. I've had the honor of hearing tapes. Tapes are scary, very scary tapes. You had a airliner coming in, American Airlines. He was doing everything right. He was on track. He was the same track as everybody else. They came in. It's probably the same track as they've had for 25 years or more. He's coming in the path. And for some reason, he had a helicopter that was at the same height, obviously when they hit, but pretty much the same height, and going at an angle that was unbelievably bad. When the air traffic controller said, do you see, he was talking about, do you see him? But there was very little time left when that was stated. And then also he said, follow him in. And then almost immediately after that, seconds after that, there was the crash that took place.
Are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else.
We don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people. You mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference?
Don't for their families.
They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question. I'm surprised coming from you.
You've already issued an executive order you say will restore aviation safety.
Right.
This crash happened after that. Was the executive order successful, and what more needs to change to keep people safe?
Well, we issued it 3 days ago, and we're in the process of making those changes.
Mr. President, you have today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistakes. You then said, perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake?
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
If I can, the cited FAA text that you read is real, but the implication that this policy is new or that it stems from efforts that began under President Biden or the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is demonstrably false. It's been on the FAA's
Who's that,
site.
you?
No, it's on the website, the FAA's website. It was there in 2013. It was there for the
Take a look
entirety.
at what I read.
It was there for the entirety of your administration
Nice and easy.
too. So my question is, why didn't you change the policy during your first
I
administration?
did change. I changed the Obama policy, and we had a very good policy. And then Biden came in, and he changed it. And then when I came in 3 days ago, I signed a new order, bringing it to the highest level of intelligence. Okay.
It was on the website.
Now, folks, let's be clear. First, let me clear up one thing. Remember he talked about that work requirements that he had, the DEI work requirements that the FAA had? Well, as usual, everything that he says, you have to take with a grain of salt because he comes out with a modicum of truth that is interpreted completely wrong. Here is the Snopes report on that particular FAA policy about hiring people with intellectual disability. Look, that has existed prior to Biden. It had existed throughout Trump's entire first term, which he did nothing about. And this wasn't about hiring controllers. This was about hiring people in general, people with disabilities, if they are capable of doing a particular position at FAA. FAA is not just about hiring controllers. FAA is about hiring janitors. FAA is about hiring writers. FAA is about hiring website designers. FAA is about hiring all kinds of people. And all these rules are saying is we won't restrict people because of their disabilities if there is a job that the FAA, a government organization, offers that you can do. This is excellent policy. And why is it excellent policy? Because it ensures that everybody has an opportunity to work and be a contributor to society. We know that the private sector many times discriminate on how they hire. If you have a missing hand, if you have a tweak or whatever. The government is saying, as all of us are taxpayers, let's make sure that all of us have skin in the game if you are able to do the job. That's all that thing was about. Nothing more, nothing less. And it turns out that the president misinterpreted that. But you know what was a great thing? That some of the reporters called him out. The question is if they will continue to call him out, because they must continue to call him out, because it's going to be 4 years of complete lies. I repeat, it's going to be 4 years of lies. But luckily, we have Pete Buttigieg, who immediately gave a response. You have to answer Trump right away. And that is exactly what Pete Buttigieg did. If you take a look at the screen, Pete Buttigieg went and he said, despicable. As families grieve, Trump should be leading, not lying. Leading, not lying. We put safety first, drove down close calls, grew air traffic control, and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe. Time for the president to show actual leadership and explain what he will do to prevent this from happening again. Remember, none of this happened on the watch of Pete Buttigieg and the Biden administration. Donald Trump just came in, started firing people, putting all kinds of scare tactics into people. And what do we have to show? A crash between a military helicopter and a commercial private sector airplane. Okay? He wants to reduce regulations. He wants to reduce all these things that keep us safe. Well, this may be the start. The truth of the matter is, sadly, Donald Trump is despicable, and he's trying to, at the same time that he's trying to find fault, he's trying to use DEI, use this crash to make believe it has something to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a lie, and it's dangerous, and it's something we should not allow. It is something we should not allow. I want to address my good friend Steigen Bergen Creek first. They say, this is insanity. We can't survive 4 years of this. 10 days in, people. Let me tell you what they said. And this is what Steve Bannon went and said on his podcast. It's working. It's working. We are flooding the zone. That's what they want you to feel, but we won't let it happen. My dear Patrick Magner. Come on, Patrick. How you doing, dear brother?
Hey, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Hey, I'm a little confused about something. When people are trying to get assistance, welfare, and things like that, people on the right, conservatives, will say, well, if they're going to get assistance, they need to be working. Now, they go and they get jobs, and they're starting to work, and they're producing, and then, well, you got that job because it's DEI, so we're going to take it from you. So I'm confused on what kind of advice to give people. Do you get a job to have it taken away from you? Because I don't know. Maybe you can help me understand.
Let me help you. My dear brother Patrick Magner, let me help you here. None of this has to do with anything that's coherent, anything that's logical. That's not their game. And Steve Bannon says what their game is. Steve Bannon just want to parrot stuff and keep people off the ledge. Now, when you notice, I just addressed our friend Steigen Bergen Creek because her sentiment is what they're trying to do. This is insanity. We can't survive 4 years of this. They want to flood the zone with so much crap that is not even related. It doesn't matter that it's not related. If you listen to Trump, I cut a lot of the interview because it would have been 30 minutes. So I cut it down to, I think, like 8 minutes or so. But let me tell you what's interesting about what he said. The president actually said that it was likely the fault of, I can't see why this helicopter didn't see it. It was a clear sky. He blamed the guy in the helicopter, and at the same time he blames DEI for the controller. And I mean, it's incoherent. He talks against a sentence that he said two sentences before. This has nothing to do with coherences. This is all about keeping people off balance so that they can really attain what they want to attain. That's what it's about, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the clarification. About 20 years ago, I changed careers. I think I worked for Paul Fleming actually for about 6 or 7 years. But after that, I became a surveyor, and surveyors had a program that the state went to Lone Star and a lot of other colleges, asking them to implement a program for licensed surveyors because we were running out. There's something like 60,000 PE registered engineers in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
There are less than 3,000 RPLSs, which would be the equivalent for a surveyor. Now, when they offered a DEI program, women figured out, well, this is something I can do, and they all went to school for 4 years. They got licenses, and a lot of them are presidents and vice presidents of very large companies now. They're doing very well, and if it wasn't for that program, Texas was in a very, very, very difficult predicament, and they probably wouldn't have been able to construct things because without an RPLS stamping plans, you can't build.
Patrick, where the hell are you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah, where are you from? Where is that mind
Uh,
from? Where is that
so
mind from? My God, let me tell you something. Uh, you have got a lot of teaching that you need to do, and let me explain. You look at what needs to be done, and you go. And by the way, let me just say this: my first boss was a woman, and it was the best boss I've ever had. Okay, and I understood why. I understood why, in general, women make better bosses because they know what they've had to go through. And that's why they're so good at it. If you take a look at presidents of countries that do very well, I can't tell you of a non-corrupt woman president that hasn't done well, from New Zealand to Australia to Colombia to Argentina, all these countries. And you know what? It's because of how they live. And I meant to read the comment that you made about that in the thing, but you nailed it. Women are great leaders, and it comes from it. And Breach gave the right word. Breach speaks about empathy. So that is right. I agree with you. I agree with you, Patrick. Anything else, brother?
well, the empathy helps them with negotiation and defusing,
Hmm.
and I believe different genders have different talents, but negotiation and diffusing, I think women are better at.
Yeah, but let me just say one thing, because for to kind of remove some of the sexist connotation, because there are times that we can say certain things that are that hold a certain kind of prejudice, and this is what I learned in the courses that I took with, like, Move to Amend, where we really look. Let me tell you something, guys. I came to this country a sexist and a homophobe, all right? And moved to amend, and well, some good activists changed me in the beginning. But the one that I can say really turned me around we were locked into a room, into a house. I think it was probably like 6 women, 6 men, or 10 women. I don't remember how many of us. But whenever you'd say something that was presumably sexist or anything, you got the whole works and learned exactly what it meant. And I mean, it was a good. I went in there still having some sexist ticks, and left there like a new person. Everybody should go through this. Though the reason I brought that up, right, is, yeah, I think there may be certain kinds of differences between men and women with regards to how they handle things, but I don't want to discount how much of, because we live in a patriarchy, how much that actually lends itself how and why women perform the way they do, and your thoughts on that. And I'd love Bridget's thoughts on that as well.
Um, when I say talents, that doesn't mean that another gender wouldn't be as good.
Oh, no, 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 I
And
wasn't I wasn't no, 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 no.
yeah, and I'm not trying to put
I,
it. I'm not trying to put anybody. I know you're not. I'm not trying to put
yeah,
anybody in a cookie cutter or anything.
yeah.
Um, I think that there's a lot of talents that are out there that none of us know because we have been confining them with the idea of gender. We
Exactly.
don't give people an opportunity to show those.
Exactly. Exactly. I think you nailed it right there, brother. I think you nailed it right there. Anyway, anything else before I go to the next video, my brother?
No, I'm looking forward to the video. Thank you for the
All
time.
right. Thank you, sir. All right, folks. Let me set this one up. This one was instigated. Let me put Bridget's thing on the screen, even though I covered it in the video, but I want hers is a dark letters, so dark background. So let me put that up. Wrong screen. Come on, Egbert. Get it right. There you go. That's Pete Buttigieg's messages. I won't read it again because I read it in the video. But you guys can take a picture of that. It's in his tweet. His tweet is Pete Buttigieg. All right. Now, let me set this one up. You know, RFK Jr., everybody thinks of him as, maybe RFK Jr. is maybe a kook, crazy, but he means well with what he does. Well, that's not true. Even while he's been speaking about vaccinations, he's been vaccinated, his kids been vaccinated. There are these people, and he behaved exactly like how the Republican leadership behaves. And that is, I will let you guys kill yourselves. I would let you guys die. But my family and myself, I'm going to have all the vaccinations that I can. And I will make money on stuff that will harm you. They did it with vaccinations. They did it with the harsh drug that they were telling people with COVID to take. They made millions off of people getting themselves hurt, sick, or killed. Well, Elizabeth Warren pretty much, I think, brought out of Kennedy exactly who he is. I want you to listen to how she drilled him about taking money or using that vaccination, that anti-vax notion to go ahead and enrich himself. And when he couldn't promise that he wouldn't do it again, that is how we knew what the truth really is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Kennedy, I want to start with something that I think you and I agree on, and that is that Big Pharma has too much power in Washington. You said that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit?
You're going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
But that's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this question.
I don't think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Let's keep going. You're right because to say yes, because every American has the right to know that every decision you make as our number one health officer is to help them and not to make money for yourself in the future. So I want to talk more about money. I'm looking at your paperwork right now. In the past 2 years, you've raked in $2.5 million from a law firm called Wisner Baum. You go online, you do commercials to encourage people to sign up with Wisner Baum to join lawsuits against vaccine makers. And for everyone who signs up, you personally get paid. And if they win their case, you get 10% of what they win. So if you bring in somebody who gets $10 million, you walk away with $1 million. Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for 4 years afterwards?
Well, I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary. But I do want to clarify something because you're making me sound like a shill. I put the case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court.
Mr. Kennedy, hearing. Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question. You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're a secretary and for 4 years after. It's just...
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No. I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that.
Companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people to the DC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as Secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Now, look, no one should be fooled here. Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
And he could never, ever say that he wouldn't do it. And you know why? Because that's how they make their money. And you know, this guy is the ultimate crook. You know, charlatanes are one thing. You know, and you know, that is probably why Trump feels comfortable having him work with him. Because just like Trump snows people, just like he snows MAGA, just like he hoodwinks MAGA, he figures, hey, somebody like JFK who also has a following, we merge those followings and we get a whole lot of gullible people to follow us. And then we just rip them off like Trump has already started doing, right? We just rip them off. They're ready to be ripped off. And that's what it's all about. That's what it is all about. Well, folks, that is my last video of the day. And if anybody needs to say something before we go, give me a call. Let me see, Bridge, that video that you have there, isn't it the same video or is it a different video? Oh, it's the same video. Oh wait, did they do twice about the Samoa? I tell you what, I can probably get that. I can probably get that one in Bridge. Let me do that. Let me go ahead and do that. I think I can play that one in. Bear with me a second as I fix that. I have some time and it's only 2 minutes, so let's do it. Let's do it. Bridge wins again. Let's do it. Let's go and stop that right there. And let me go ahead and put this video on the center stage. And I think I can do it that way. Let's see if it works. All right. Now this statement from this one is from from Elizabeth Warren. Let's go ahead and play it. It has to do with Samoa. I didn't hear that part, so let's go ahead and do it right now. Okay, now. Okay, not playing. Bear with me, guys. I've got to get it. Let me make sure that I have all the machinations going. That one is window Chrome. That should be working. Is there a stuff to turn the video on or not? Let's see. Come on now. Where is the video to turn on? Oh my God. All right, guys. Oh, there it is. I got it.
Vaccine that nurses had mistakenly mixed with. I wanted to ask about your role in the 2019 measles outbreak in Samoa. In July 2018, 2 children died immediately after receiving a measles vaccine that nurses had mistakenly mixed with a muscle relaxant. The nurses get charged with manslaughter, but vaccination rates go down. I asked you about this in my office. You told me flatly that your visit to Samoa had nothing to do with vaccinations. We now know that's not true. I have the documentation. You met with the Prime Minister. You talked about vaccinations. You met with an anti-vaccine influencer who described the meeting as, quote, profoundly monumental for this movement. So what happens? Vaccinations go down. There's a measles outbreak and children start dying. But you double down. You didn't give up. Just 4 days after the Prime Minister declared a state of emergency, 16 people already dead, you sent a letter to him promoting the idea that the children had died not from measles, but from, quote, defective vaccine. You launched the idea that a measles vaccine caused these deaths. You are a very influential man. In fact, you are called the leader of the disinformation dozen. UNICEF and WHO, the World Health Organization, investigated this. They say the claims are false. It is not biologically possible what you claimed, and yet ultimately more than 70 people died because they didn't get vaccines. So my question is, do you accept even a scintilla, just even a sliver of responsibility for the drop in vaccinations and the subsequent deaths of more than 70 people? Anything you do differently?
No, absolutely not.
And there it is. There it is. There it is, folks. He accepts no responsibility. Bridge, I think that's the one that you wanted played, and we went ahead and played it. Bridge, where did you? That was a good one. That was a good one. Anyway, folks, we are near the end of the program. The telephone number is 281-823-7747. Please feel free to give me a call. The number again is 281-823-7747. Is Bridge still in the house? Let me see. Is Bree still in the house? Yes, she's still in the house. Okay, great. All right, folks. We are close to the end. If I don't get any calls now, I'll just go ahead and do my ask, and then we'll shut this baby down. So give me a call, 281-823-7747, while I pull up my ask. Okay, here we go. Folks, please support the program as best you can. You know, we do a lot of work to make sure the progressive movement gets out there. How can you support us? Please consider becoming paid subscribers of our newsletter. And how can you do that? Just go to our newsletter at politicsdoneright.com. It's our Substack newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I just placed it into the feed on Facebook and YouTube. If you go to politicsdoneright.com/newsfeed, alternatively, you can go straight to my to the podcast. I mean, to the. Let me go ahead and write that down because that's probably the best way to go. You can go to my Substack, and that Substack is found at https:// Ray Brackens. How are you doing, my brother?
AI is taking notes.
Hey, brother. Yeah, you know what? It's lucky that I get to hear your commentary after that orange face blowhard that we call Le Presidente. But I'm about to call him President Chump. That's what he deserves.
I
That's his
agree.
rightful moniker, President Chump. CHUMP. Because I mean, basically, that's what he is. He doesn't care about anything. And you hear how he talks you hear how he talks down on everything. And I'm gonna leave this point because I know we're going. But it's basically he's playing the whole playbook. Look, MAGA fans, fiends, whatever you want to call yourself. I call you fiends. MAGA fiends, listen, he's running the same playbook he did. When I got in, everything was a mess. It was Obama's fault, even though Obama ain't been president since 2000 and freaking, 15? I mean, he's basically running the same white supremacist playbook of saying, I came in, Obama messed everything up. When I come in,
Listen,
you know,
worse.
it's
Let me tell you what happened to me today. Today, that press conference had an impact on me. Let me tell you, I started out, in after my morning show, I start to process the videos from the morning show, and then I start writing my blog of the day. I usually write 2 or 3 blogs, and I start reading up on some, doing a little bit of research and writing the blog. Well, I keep all the different networks in the background, and I see MSNBC, he's coming on it. So I started and I start recording. And I just thought he was going to come and come and say, well, we're going to take care of this and we're going to do this and that. But then as soon as he gave the minute of silence, he goes into DEI. I you know I got you guys never really see me irate. I got irate because it was like what he's doing is dangerous. He's using the death of 60 something people and making it seem like the DEI policies caused it. And that is dangerous because for the feeble minded, and we even have some feeble minded folks, some of them in our chats, that Trump just has to say that and that becomes their reality. And that's a danger. But anyway, I got to close out. What else you got to tell me, Ray, real quick?
Well, shout out to Pete Buttigieg for actually letting us know that there are politicians that have compassion. And I'll just say this, Trump, you ain't shit. That's it.
All right, man. You have a good one, my brother. You take care. All right, folks. Thank you for calling in, my brother. I want you to consider, folks, becoming paid subscribers. We really need your support. So I'm going to put 2 links in there that you can either you can reach the same subscription by going to politicsandright.com/newsletter or go to egberto.substack.com. And anyone who becomes a paid subscribers get to read all of my books free of charge. They also get all my subsequent books that I will be writing. I've started 3 already, 3 additional books already. And also you get the distilled version of the podcast all on the Substack platform. So anyhow, I got to get out of here. Thank you all. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby, right? I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.